you're enjoying this event. And now we are coming to a very special part of it. So I'm proudly to announce Tristan Haupt. He is trainee at sitPOTT. And at the moment he's in the first year and has his first experience with ABAP. And he will explain about his experience and the hard way to go ahead and the learning path he would like to explain now. So on the other stage we have Dr. Ziesema, who is in reference to the DSAG security survey and will present it there. So if you are not sure which track you would want to join, now it's the last chance to join one or both. And yeah, last but not least, I want to use this part to announce that we would like to create a community photo after these tracks. So before we go to lunch, you have to look at Bettina. At the moment she's not here, but when you go outside, when we will take a photo, you cannot miss Bettina. She will stay there and make some noises. So just go to her and we will take a community photo afterwards. And when we have done the photo, we will join the lunch. So enjoy, have fun, and see you later.
Well, hello, first of all. As Jens said, my name is Tristan Haupt. And well, first, who am I? Afterwards, I'm going to talk what you are expecting from this presentation and what I'm glad I knew when I started coding ABAP and what I wish I knew when I started coding ABAP. And what's most important to know, all in all, and then I'll list the sources I had. So let's go ahead. Who am I? My name is Tristan Haupt. I'm 22 years old. I'm an apprentice since September here at ThyssenKrupp Material Services. And before that, I went to the university, to TU Dortmund, and I studied math in my main subject, and my subsidiary subject was information technology. I did this for 2 semesters, then I switched and had information technology as my main subject. But I decided to do an apprenticeship here at ThyssenKrupp, so I cancelled my university times, but I might return. My favorite programming language, kind of unusual, but it's Haskell. Maybe some of you know. All right. About this presentation, what do you get from a rookie like me? I mean, everyone is explaining new things, and I'm myself am new. So maybe you are introducing someone to ABAP as well, and this might help you to know which knowledge this person needs. Since you're all in the ABAP field since a very long time and you know everything, I assume, you won't notice what is missing for someone who's new. Maybe, just maybe, what helped me may help you too. So maybe here or there might be something you didn't know, and at least you can recall some memories from the time you learned ABAP and how it was for you. I think there will be some similarities. So, first of all, I'm very glad I knew ABAP in Eclipse. I'm not sure if I've ever coded a single line in the SE80. I think I coded everything in Eclipse. And that's pretty good since I had Java in university and the Eclipse IDE was known for me, but the SE80 was kind of strange. And so, which features are most important? Well, code profiling. You can just run your program, but have it profiled while it's running, and you will get a huge amount of information about your program. That's something I learned, well, after some time. And also you get those flashy graphs and charts, which is very good for management if you want to show them something, but they don't know what coding is meant to be. So flashy charts are always useful. And Listen lernen. Before I learned that, I had to find some database accesses. I needed to know which databases are accessed by a certain program. So obviously I went into the debugging mode and skipped through the code, one step after another. This took ages, and suddenly I was so deep into the code, it was another programming language, at least I thought, because that wasn't the ABAP I learned from the beginning. So then I saw a comment and it said, well, we designed everything new in here, 3rd of March, 1995. Well, this code is older than me. So after a long time, I found my tables I wanted to select from, and afterwards I learned about SQL tracing, which would have helped me a lot. And that's also included into the code profiling process. So code completion is very useful as well. I used to write names that are quite long for my variables. They should be speaking. And with code completion, you can just write the first 2 letters and you'll notice, well, are you trying to write this whole variable on yourself? Well, yes, so please complete it for me. It saves a lot of time. Database table display, it's useful as well. So you can just display your database table, check which columns you want to display, have it displayed, sort, filter them. Then you can show the first part of information to someone who orders a program from you, and you can just compromise the information so they know exactly what they are getting before you even start coding. And together with this, you get the SQL monitor, in which you get the select statement, which brought you this information, and you can write in it and have it completed as well. This is something I learned yesterday, and I'm pretty happy I can use it now. And block selection, it's something that I really appreciate. I think it's in the SAE 80 too, but it's in Eclipse. And I'm pretty thankful for this, so you can just copy blocks and don't have to cut out the front part every time, so you can just take the type of a huge amount of data. Well, also, I'm glad I knew the ABAP keyword documentation. Without this, I think I'd be still coding my hello world. And maybe it's not that pretty, but it's useful. It's very useful. So when I coded my joins, it told me everything I need to know what I can place into the joins, where I can select the data from. And it gives examples, which is very good, since I'm not that familiar, I wasn't that familiar with how I should write the code, where I need to place my points, commata, something like this. And it's in Eclipse. So you can press F1 on the statement, and you got your ABAP keyword documentation, which helped me out many times. I am glad I knew OpenSAP. OpenSAP has a lot of online courses for a lot of topics, advanced courses as well, so not just for rookies like me. And yeah, obviously open courses, since its name is OpenSAP. They're easy to follow, and I just recently started one about UI5. And I'm glad there is a SAP community. The SAP community contains useful blogs and has a lot of answers to almost every question I had. I had questions about joins and what you can do with them and insert them, and I thought, well, no one ever had this kind of question. It's really special. Typed it in, and there it was. Someone had the same problem as me. I was pretty happy to discover this, since there was a solution for this. The solution was Anna. Okay. And I'm glad I had books. First I had an introductory book, Einstieg in ABAP, it's called. And well, it's I worked through Einstieg in ABAP from the beginning to the end. I just read the whole book, did everything it said, and afterwards I was done with it. I had the ABAP objects book displayed here. There I went to some chapters, I went one by one after another, and now every time I have to look up something, I use this book as a reference, since it has a lot of references in it, obviously, and I'm pretty thankful. So, yeah. Of course, I'm glad I knew my co-workers, since they were always open for questions, and I think this is really important. If you are new to ABAP, you'll have a lot of questions, a lot. So it's really important that you work inside a room with someone who can answer those questions. If you have someone and want to introduce him to ABAP, make sure he's somewhere he can place his questions. So if there's no one, he won't come out of the bureau to your room and ask, how should I write this or this? That would just take a lot of time. And I'm really thankful that I had my coworkers helping me out many times. And now we are to the part I wish I knew. Well, naming in ABAP is kind of strange. I come from Java development and I could name it basically whatever I wanted. And naming a class or a package with 30 characters is kind of ambitious, even especially if you have to put something before, because company says, well, you have to call it first with a Z, and then the other company says, well, if you are coding this, and you should place something like your identity number in front of it, and now 10 spaces are gone, and I've got only 20 for a speaking name, which is, well, you know. What am I allowed to do? I had this question a lot of times. So starting to code ABAP is really, really hard, since you always you are always in fear of breaking something. So you think, well, am I allowed to create a new database element? It's a simple question, but you're not always gonna ask, well, may I do this? May I do this? Someone is gonna get annoyed pretty soon, I think. So I had a lot of questions like this, and it's really important that someone who's new to ABAP knows exactly what he can do inside the system. So he can start working, start testing, and after I created my first database table, which I didn't mean to, but well, it was there, surprisingly. It was everything was fine, but I was in fear for a short moment. Well, I think this is very important to know. For you, it's clear what you can create, where you create it, but for me, it wasn't in the beginning. So you should really emphasize on this. And which account do I use? I have a lot of accounts then for different SAP systems, all right. But I mean, for those sites I mentioned earlier, the Open SAP, the community, I was kind of, well, I didn't really know which account I used where, and I had an own I created in beforehand, and I really didn't know if I had to register a new account there or take the old one, or I could link them on the other page, and I was kind of overwhelmed. So maybe walk an apprentice through something like this. Not just tell them, well, there's Open SAP and you have a lot of courses there. Oh, that's awesome. But then he's Open SAP, register. Okay, do I use my account or do I create another one? My account doesn't work. Okay, maybe I should register. And what are those fields meant to be? I should enter here. So walk them through creating the account, some simple processes like this. An apprentice won't always ask, well, could you help me walking through this? Because he might be embarrassed that he can't create an own account. And I didn't ask either. And well, that's something I think is really important. And you have to know ABAP is nothing like Java or something like this before coming to ABAP. When I was here for the first time, before I worked here, I was told, well, you're gonna do ABAP coding, and well, okay, nice. And I thought to myself, hey, it might be a good idea to look into it and what it is. So I opened Eclipse, and sure, there were some plugins for ABAP, and I thought, hey, just install the plugins, and then how can I write my hello world now? And then no access to SAP GUI, and I was, wait, what? What is an SAP GUI? Well, it turns out you can't just write hello world. It takes a long process to be able to do this on your own. And that's something I learned pretty fast. And then I had access to a GUI, started coding, I wrote hello world and it worked. And I wanted to write an algorithm like I wrote in the university, since I like writing algorithms. So I started coding, then I went, well, where's my array? So there wasn't. I asked, and yeah, well, we have database tables. Yeah, but how do I do it with an index and with my runtime? So it should be like constant runtime, and well, that's not what ABAP meant to be. Oh, all right. Didn't knew that beforehand. Yeah, what's most important? The sources of knowledge. Every apprentice or someone who's new to ABAP should have those sources of knowledge. You can't always be there for every question there is, and you can't tell them everything. I'm aware of this. So you should give them the sources of knowledge, but walk them through it. Tell them what they have to do and how they can access it. Just telling them, well, there is one, won't always be the right way. You need a lot of time and patience, like a lot. And ABAP is pretty crazy if you're coming from, especially if you're coming from a new from another development background and have never heard of ABAP. And suddenly there are 3 stages, and you can't just write your own simple program because everything is connected, and all those little things, they add up. So you have to wait, slow down, step by step, go through everything. Don't bombard them with all the information that they couldn't get, and then let them sit there, go through it with them. And close cooperation is really important. Be there if there's a question, and make sure there's someone you can address your questions to. Well, after this, the important sources of knowledge are as listed: the ABAP keyboard documentation, OpenSAP, ABAP in Eclipse, SAP community books, and I think there are many, many more. And I'm pretty thankful I had all this support and all those sources. And with this, you can ask me any question you want. Yes?
And what advice did you get regarding the accounts? So do you still have your P user and your S user?
I'm not really sure. I have some accounts, and with this email and with this email, and
okay, so
I try to remember which email I have to log in with.
So then I try to answer it hope you follow or others can follow and tell their apprenticeship. So keep your P user.
Yes.
Because that is your personal user, and use it with your personal email address. And when you put some content out in the community, do it with your P user.
Okay.
And perhaps also use your P user for the OpenSAP courses, because all your earnings of points, whatever, will go in there.
But Gregor, he will not leave the company. Quite easy.
I'm pretty sure he never will. And
he's not allowed to leave.
Maybe the email address will change.
It should be painful if you leave. Everything is lost.
Yeah, and use your S user for everything you do with the company.
All right.
Because in the moment, unfortunately, there is still, you get an S user for each, like me as an independent consultant, I get an S user for each company I work for. SAP is working on the universal ID that should bring a global ID one off for everything, but that will take years.
Yes, they've been promising it for the last 5 years,
Yeah.
and it's no closer now than it was then.
just as a tip.
Yes.
So what is your personal feedback about all this ABAP stuff and ABAP development and
Well,
you like it? Is it retro or is it cool or what?
Would you rather be programming in Java?
Or Haskell?
It depends on what I'm programming. If I'm programming an algorithm, sure, instantly. But with all those database accesses, I wouldn't do this in Java at all. I would use ABAP or, well, SQL, but that's inside of ABAP, obviously. So for what it's meant to be, ABAP does its job. Sometimes it's really old school, like really old school. Everyone is doing object-oriented programming, and ABAP is like, well, we have it, kinda. So, oh, you want protected classes? Okay, it's well, yeah. Okay.
What was your most impressive thing you had in ABAP?
In which case, impressive in well.
Whatever.
So the code I found from 1995 was really impressive, and I thought, okay, I think it still runs. That's pretty awesome. And I went pretty deep into joins and select statements and how I could do it in another way. And I lost the red line. Wait a second. Well, and it was really hard for me to fight with the database manager, since he wouldn't do what I wanted to do. And I couldn't just say, well, Hinz, you do it now, because that's forbidden, obviously. That was pretty hard, and I think I won this fight in the end.
You talked to the basis guy.
No, I wrote it in another way.
Especially if the guy who's creating the guidelines is sitting next to you
Yeah.
and you have definitely a discussion. And, yeah, no.
Well, can I do this? No. Can I do it? Why does this work even on our stack? So there were some funny moments. Yeah. I coded something and it worked, but it should not have worked on our version. But
It was not released for the Snapchat stack.
yes, but it ran. Yes.
You have said that the ABAP help, the inline help for data element and so on, it's a very good thing. If you create your own data element, to write a help for the other people also.
Well, I think I use descriptive names and I add something into the description. But further than this, well.
You don't need to answer.
Well,
One last question.
Yes.
Have you already installed your own ABAP stack?
no. I tried it, but it broke somewhere, and I don't know where, and then I hadn't had time anymore. And I tried it again, and I didn't found the right sources, and now I'm kinda lost, but
Okay.
I'll try it again.
Then, let me show
We can
you.
talk about it.
Please show it to me in the break what's wrong with getting started with your own ABAP stack, because that must be fixed.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm. Good.
Well,
Enough time? So
Yeah.
50 minutes left.
We have a longer break.
thank you all for listening.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you have any further questions,